So welcome students, today we are starting module 4 and it is, as you can see, thermal conductivities and mechanism of energy transport. So when you have studied the mechanism of momentum transport, now your module 4 and module 5, that is module 4 deals with heat energy and module 5 deals with mass transfer. These two modules will become easier because now you know that what is cell momentum balance and how to use those differential equation tables from the appendix. So only thing is just to apply that knowledge that you learned in momentum transport in this heat transfer and mass transfer. So to start with, I will like to tell you ways of energy transportation. So what are the ways for the energy transport? And these ways are the same, means approximately these are same as you saw in momentum transport, but there is some difference. So first way is molecular energy transport, and you are already familiar with this. It is also called conduction. Actually you know the word conduction, but you may not, many of you may not know that it is actually molecular energy transport. Number 2 is, and the same thing happens in momentum transport also. Actually this subject, transport phenomena, we actually study in that way that we just compare these three modes of transport: momentum, heat and mass transfer. So when you have understood one mode, then it becomes very easy to understand other modes also. So here also the same way that momentum is transferred from molecule to molecule, that is the viscous forces, and the same thing is here also. The energy is transported from molecule to molecule. And number 2 is, as you can guess, it is convective or bulk energy transport due to bulk motion of the fluid, because when high energy molecules are moving from one place to another place, then it is also taking its energy with it to that place. It means that it will increase the energy of that place. So I am writing it here, convective, and you can say that it is by the bulk motion. Of the fluid. And number 3 is, it was not in momentum transport, and it is actually found in only in heat transfer, and you can guess it is radiative in energy transport because of the radiation. So you can see that there are 3 ways for energy transport. Now we will come to the rules, and you can compare it with the momentum transport, that there was Newton's law of viscosity. The same corresponding law you will find here also, and it is called Fourier's law of heat conduction. So we will study that rule. In momentum transport we had Newton's law of viscosity, and here we have Fourier's law of viscosity. So it will become very easy to understand it because you already know the use of that viscosity law, and here also you will apply that law. So I am discussing now Fourier's law, and this law is for molecular energy transport. That is for this molecular energy transport, the same way that viscosity, Newton's law of viscosity, was also for molecular momentum transport. So it is for molecular energy transport. And here also we can understand it this way, that you take a slab of some material, that is, this is a slab. It can be any material, it can be metal, or it can be some other material also. And at the start, when you have just starting your experiment, the temperature everywhere is T0, and when you start the experiment at T is equal to 0, what you do, that you increase the temperature of this phase of the slab to T1. So it will be like this. So here I have drawn the axis. So suppose during to this direction you are taking the distance y from this 0, and in this direction you are taking the temperature. So at T is equal to 0 you have increased the temperature to T1. Okay, now with time, if you will see, then you will find that the temperature will start increasing like this, means the far end of the slab will not be at the temperature. So you will see something like this, and then the temperature will start reaching to this point also. Then you can see that this curve will become more and more flat like this, and ultimately when the steady state will come, when I mean that after that state the temperature of the slab will not change with time, so you will get this kind of profile. Ultimately you will get a profile like this. Here at this point the temperature will be this, at this point the temperature will be this, and suppose the thickness of the slab is y, means this point is y is equal to y, this point is y is equal to 0. So the thickness of the slab is capital Y. So it was seen by the experiments that the heat that is flowing, so this area is giving it heat, means here maybe some heater is there, so heat is given to this slab, and suppose Q joule heat is given to this, means everywhere you are giving this here total Q joule heat is giving, and the area of the slab is A. Suppose this area, if you will make a slab like this, so this area through which you are providing the heat, this is A. So it was seen that if we divide this Q by A, and that is called the flux, it is actually seen that it is proportional to the delta T temperature that is between this, what is the temperature here, that is T naught, and this is the temperature here T1. So this difference of temperature, that is delta T, it is proportional to delta T and the thickness or distance through which you are providing the heat. So already you already know these things, and if you will remove the constant of proportionality, you will get K here, and this is called thermal conductivity. So you already know this thing, and we put a minus sign also here because the temperature here is low and temperature here is high. So if you will do 2 minus thing here, so you will get minus sign. So to compensate that minus sign that we are getting from this delta T, we multiply the whole expression with minus. So minus sign comes here so that it becomes positive, because heat is positive in the y direction we take. So okay, now this was the just we got this very basic formula. Now we will write this formula for 3 directions, means it was only for one direction, but if your heat is spreading like this, point source is there and it is giving you heat like this, then it is going in all 3 directions, x, y, z. So for that purpose the 3D form of this rule, and it is Fourier's law actually, it is Fourier's law. So it is written like this in 3D form. It is like this. Here you will take this partial differentiation of T with x, because you have got now 3 variables. So these 3 equations are for the Fourier's law in 3 directions, that is the 3D form, and it is Fourier's law. And suppose in our case, in this case heat was going only in y direction, so you can use the Fourier's law this way also. This is Q, small q is actually heat flux, the total is divided by the area, and you can write it this way. You can remove the partial differentiation because you have got only one variable. So this is in one direction, the Fourier's law, and its compact form you can write in mathematical way this way. This is actually written in bold letter, and all the directions of heat are coming here, and it is written is like this. So it is its 3D form of compact form of Fourier's law. And also one thing to tell, that it is for isotropic media. And what is isotropic media? It is same in all the directions. K is same in all directions. Suppose you take some material here, thermal conductivity will be same. If you go in this direction, you will find the same value of K at every point. If you go in this direction, you will find everywhere same value of K. So this is called isotropic material, and this law is for that isotropic material because we are not seeing the variation in this K. So I hope you understood this Fourier's law now. And now we come to some parameters used in heat transfer, and one important parameter is thermal diffusivity, and it is represented by alpha, and its counterpart in momentum transport is kinematic viscosity, that is write this way nu, and it's mu by rho. It was there viscosity divided by density, and its unit was centimeter square per second, or length square per time was the unit, and this also has got the same unit here also, that is centimeter square per second or meter square per second, like that. So it is its counterpart. Its corresponding parameter is this thermal diffusivity. And what is this formula? Its formula is thermal conductivity you will divide by density and this heat capacity, and heat capacity at constant pressure, you already know this. And here in this book you will see that a cap is there, so don't get confused by this extra signs. Actually it is nothing but it is, they are saying that it is heat capacity at constant pressure per unit mass, that is the heat capacity, and it is defined in this way. Everywhere it is for 1 mass, 1 kg or 1 gram or 1 mole, so it is for that sign. So it is heat capacity per unit mass, or even you can take mole also if in your question moles are taken, and for it is per unit mass. For per unit mass they are using cap, and for moles per unit mole they are using this kind of tilde operator, or you can say character. This is for per mole, so don't get confused by these signs. This is just actually to represent the unit mass or mole. So anyways, the formula for alpha is this, and its corresponding formula in momentum transport is this, and they are similar. This is momentum transport, and its similar activity that is doing the parameter is the alpha, and after then its ratio is very important. It's, if you will take its ratio, if you want to know for example this ratio, you take this kinematic viscosity and thermal diffusivity. If you take its ratio, what you will get? You will get Cp by mu by K. So, and this number is called Prandtl number. When it shows you that what momentum transport, molecular momentum transport will be there in comparison to the heat transport. So for example, some fluid is there, or for some solid is there, molecules are there. So if you just give here some agitation, for example it is liquid, then this molecule will be in motion, and then it will give its momentum to this molecule. Then this way this agitation will spread into the liquid. So this is doing this thing, and if you give heat here, so that heat will be transported from this molecule to this molecule. So heat will also go in the depth of the liquid. So this ratio is showing that whether the heat will transport in a faster way or the momentum will transport in the faster way. So Prandtl number is showing you this, and if you will see some numerical values of this Prandtl number, then you will find that for water it is approximately 6.02, and for mercury it is 0.01, like this. So you can say that momentum transport will be faster way in water in comparison to mercury, but here heat conduction will be at a much more faster way. So this kind of idea you can get from Prandtl number, and it is very useful. Now I would like to tell you some thermal conductivities of various metals. For example, aluminium, it is 205. Its unit I will tell you. Yes, it is watt per meter Kelvin, and you already know these units, all these things. And for copper it is, steel it is. So it is very important to that you should know these things. And brick that you use for construction purposes, its conductivity is 63. So it is more conductive than steel, you can say that. And concrete, all these data is very important when you are designing some system. Earth crust, that is the soil. It is very insulating, it is 1.7. In glass you can see that it is also insulating, very much insulating. Wood you can say, and it is 0.126 and 0.038. And why there are two conductivities? Because across like this along the grains, because in wood you will see that there are grains actually like this. So if you will put the wood like this, you heat here, then the conductivity will be this. But if you will put the wood like this and you heat here, you heat, then in this way what will be the conductivity? Then you can say that it is much more less than if you are putting the orientation of wood this way. So okay, with the help of means with this data you can say that copper is the most conductive, and after then aluminium, then comes your all these things. So you must have this kind of idea. After then you can study this temperature and pressure dependence on K, and for this you can go to your book. This is chapter number 9, and you can see here that temperature and pressure dependence of thermal conductivity. Very briefly you can read this, you don't have to read it in a very that way. Just read these very briefly. You can read it. You can find that main thing is it can be seen that thermal conductivity of gas. You can see this graph also. Approaches a limiting function at low pressure. The most gases, this limit is reached at about 1 atmospheric pressure. That is here. This limit is there. And what the main point they are saying that the thermal conductivities of gases at low density increase with increasing temperature. It increases when you increase the temperature. This is the thing that is happening, that you won't expect. Would expect that when you increase temperature, its conductivity will go down. And now for what about liquid? The thermal conductivities of most liquids decrease with the increasing pressure. Okay, so this point you should remember, and don't go to this part, or only you should remember all these things. Don't go much detail into of it, and to some extent you will read this also. Theory of thermal conductivity of gases is low density. Very briefly you can see this topic, so that you don't have to read all these things. It is not for that thing. Just see its result. That is this numerical. You can see here, and on what values it is depending actually, thermal conductivity of a gas. So very brief idea you can get of it. Not you have to do it in the detail. So for this class, I am ending the class here. This is the first class of the chapter of module 4. Some more classes also I will give you to give you idea about this topic, because in momentum transport you also already know cell momentum balance and the differential equations that you have to use from the appendix. So that knowledge we have to apply in heat transport, and that's all. So thank you very much.